All right, so David, we've talked through a lot of processes to this point in time, but in presentations, it's absolutely critical that we've got an effective process of communicating our thoughts and ideas in a tight and crisp way. Walk us through your routine for making effective presentations.
Phil, that's an excellent point. And in my opinion, I feel like that the presentation and when the advisor gets to the presentation position, if you will, in their sales process, the sale and the consummation of what it is that we're doing has really been navigated, Phil, in the discovery conversation, and really you're putting the bow on the package here in the presentation. Understanding the presentation, really going back to our numerically framing, is 7 very simple steps. Step number 1, let's have an agenda and let's summarize what we navigated in our discovery conversations or conversations. In other words, bring in the client back to where we are today. Maybe the last time that we navigated a conversation with the client was a week or 2 or maybe more ago, and making sure that they understand what the issues were that we summarized in the discovery conversation. Next is to ID what were the gaps that we surfaced. Maybe it was an allocation, maybe it was in retirement income planning, maybe it was in titling or beneficiary designations of the assets. Step number 2 is to identify what those gaps were and gain the commitment from the client or the prospect that this is still what the gaps were when we navigated it in discussion of discovery. Step number 3 is to frame the points that we're going to navigate today. So maybe there are 3 points in which we're going to bring up. Maybe there are 4, but being able to numerically frame what those points are. Mr. and Ms. Client, we're going to review 4 primary benefits of the 529 college savings plan today with you in comparison of what the custodial accounts were that we talked about last time that we were together. So step number 3 is to frame those points. Step number 4 is now to discuss each and every one of those points. Point number 1, the tax advantage of the 529 college savings plan. Benefit number 2, benefit number 3, benefit number 4. So point number 4 is to discuss each and every one of the points that we have already framed out. Understanding the next point is really my branding message or the value of our team deliverable. If it's myself that's going to be delivering the solution to the client and to their family, it's really what is the benefit of going ahead and executing this with myself or with our team, which is going to lead us right back into a little bit and portions of our branding message and our value proposition that we bring together to the client. And then, Phil, the last 2 steps, I say a test close and an assumptive close. When I get to step number 6, I want to test the waters just a little bit. Phil, do you see the benefit? And what is the benefit in your eyes of funding the 529 plans versus the custodial account? And advisors, I'm going to coach you to stop there and listen to Phil in the interaction, because if I've done a good job with all the points, I've framed them well, and he's seen the benefit of each and every one of the points that I've presented, which I learned those points in discovery. By the time I get to the test close, I'm testing the waters to see if I can go to step number 7. And step number 7, as long as I get some positive input, Phil might say, David, I really like the ability to navigate and handle the 529 plan beyond age 18 or 21. The minute I start getting some positive input in the test close, I immediately go to step number 7, the assumptive close. I don't ever want to ask the client, are you ready to get started? I want to demonstrate to the client, Phil, let me show you how easy it is to get started. Next steps, action plan. Don't stop and try to close the client again if I'm getting some positive interaction and some positive energies in the test close. I immediately go to step number 7 upon the conclusion of that. Phil, let me show you how easy it is to get started. So advisors, steps 1 through 7, very disciplined, open with an agenda, summarize the points that we gleaned in the discovery conversation, frame them numerically, go through each and every one of them, and execute 2 close, test close and the assumptive close, next steps to fund the account in a disciplined way.
Okay, so all that makes complete sense. But let me ask you this, David. not every presentation results in an affirmative direction on behalf of the client or the prospect. So in your experience in working with advisors, if there's going to be a breakdown, if there's going to be an issue, where does that issue arise?
Phil, it's usually two places. One is either I haven't done a good quality job in discovery. Maybe I didn't listen as well as I could have. Maybe I didn't ask the right questions. And then when I get to the presentation, I'm presenting on points that I've maybe framed, but are really off base based on what the client truly wants because I haven't surfaced the right things in discovery. So number one, I'd go back to discovery. The second of the two is skipping the test close. I just go through a product presentation and I don't gain the agreement or the confirmation that I'm tracking in the right arena with the client, and I skip the test close and push the solution out a little prematurely. In other words, present it prematurely to the client, might not even be willing to look at this solution yet, and I jump through the test close and try to close the client quickly as possible without going through the disciplined approach.